In fact, now there's a whole industry surrounding digital nomads. There's hostels which cater specifically to digital nomads, and so they will have high-speed internet even when you're in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala, so that you know that you'll be able to do your job no matter where you are in the world.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Mirav, a curious journalist that always want to know what people do for a living and how much they can earn. I thought you might be interested to know too, so here we are. When I heard that Caleb, who is a family friend and our guest today, is a digital nomad, my ears perked. What is a digital nomad? Well, apparently there is such a job, and if you like to travel and still want to make a living, this could be the job for you. So let's dive right in. Thank you, Caleb, for agreeing to do that.
Yeah,
I highly
no problem.
appreciate it. Let's start by telling us, what is a digital nomad?
Digital nomad is a person who has a job which is primarily or fully online. It allows them to work from anywhere in the world. Typically, that person is employed by a company in their home country, and then they can travel the world with just their laptop. Oftentimes, they're just living out of a backpack.
And what kind of jobs can you have while traveling?
There's a big variety. So there are English teachers, people who teach students online, a lot of Chinese or Vietnamese or Korean students. Then there are people who are software developers, engineers. There's really tons and tons of different kinds of people. I've met lots of people. There's people who do consulting work. There's people who are creatives, so like digital designers.
And they're traveling while they do that?
Yes.
They visit different countries?
Yeah, visiting different countries. They stay in hostels along the way. And in fact, now there's a whole industry surrounding digital nomads. There's hostels which cater specifically to digital nomads. And so they will have quiet working spaces. They'll have private booths where you can do conference calls. They'll have high-speed internet even when you're in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala, so that you know that you'll be able to do your job no matter where you are in the world.
So there are agencies for people that want to become digital nomads?
There are some websites where they will advertise, or they're kind of guiding you on how to become a digital nomad, but I think most people sort of find their way into it naturally as a result of their career path. Maybe they've chosen to be a software engineer, and they realize, well, I'm working from home. Why not travel and live in Buenos Aires instead of in New York City when the cost of living is 5 times cheaper and it's more fun, and I get to experience a different culture to the office.
But how do you make sure when you're in the other side of the world that the guy that hired you or the woman will actually pay you? It's
hard to know, I guess. I mean, like with any job, right? You can only hope that they're going to follow the laws and pay you well. So as long as you have a good contract, and it can also be a good idea to work for that company for a few months, 6 months, or maybe even a year, or get to know the company and see if they're legitimate before then setting off on your adventure.
Right.
The best opportunities you're going to have come from engineering, software engineering, and artificial intelligence related jobs. So because those are 2 burgeoning fields, if you really wanted to become a digital nomad, you should probably study a coding language of some kind.
How do you work around the challenge of, let's say, you're in China or Japan and your employer is American?
Yeah.
With the time zone?
Yes. So that's something that a lot of people find challenging. A lot of people in Europe find it easier to be a digital nomad in Asia because the time difference is not quite as big. A lot of North Americans, you'll find, will choose to go to Latin America instead because it's in the same time zone. If you're willing to make the sacrifice and work overnight, then you can go to China or Southeast Asia or somewhere like that. Or ideally, you can get a job where it's not dependent on the time, where it's more about just production. As long as you've got the job done, as long as you get the work done, it doesn't matter when you submit it.
Okay, let's get to the nitty-gritty. How much money can you make?
It varies a lot. So, I'm a person who's been an English teacher before, and I was looking into teaching English. And teaching English online is a job which has become extremely saturated. There's tons and tons of people, especially during the pandemic, who wanted to work as teachers. The salary is, anywhere from 1,000 USD to maybe up to 2,000, 3,000, depending on your qualifications.
Per month, per week?
Per month. And if you're living in Vietnam, $1,000 is enough to survive. And it's enough to thrive. In fact, you can have a very good lifestyle when the average wage there is only 100 or 200 USD. People who are in software engineering, they can get up to, 100,000, 200,000 a year, depending on their experience. So it's a very wide range because there isn't just one digital nomad job. It can vary very like extremely.
Right. And so did you get to actually travel and enjoy travel while doing it, or is it mostly work like everything else?
It was hard to balance. So I was digital nomading around Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and then South America a little bit. And there were times when I had to sort of sacrifice the more fun aspects of the trip in order to do my work. When my friends would go out to do whitewater rafting or go cave exploring or whatever, I had to stay home because I'm on the clock. I have to fulfill my duties. And what I ended up doing is I took the route of kind of establishing myself in one city in Oaxaca, Mexico, where I spent about 1 year. It was easier in that way, and then I still had the benefit of the lower cost of living, experiencing the new culture, and eating different foods all the time than I would get back in my home.
And your home, you had to rent a place for a short period of time, correct?
Yeah, so initially I rented on Airbnb.
So is it worth it with all the expenses? Can you actually make money?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so if I compare the average sort of cost of living in Toronto, maybe you're paying $2,000 Canadian per month for a room, right? Whereas in Oaxaca, 500 is easily going to get you a really nice apartment. So your lifestyle is still really, really nice, and then you go out to eat and it's $1 or $2 for a meal.
How did you get your first job?
So my first ever job in terms of like the nomad lifestyle was as an English teacher in South Korea. I had talked to a friend who had taught in South Korea before, and she told me about this organization. It's a recruiting agency. So they did most of the heavy lifting for me, getting the paperwork done and getting me the visa. And then the amazing thing about working as a teacher in South Korea is they will provide they'll pay for your flight, and they'll also provide you with an apartment and an airport pickup. So it's very, very like smooth. You just get there and they're like, well, here's where you're living for the next year, 2 years. And it was an amazing job.
What are some travel-friendly jobs for people who are not tech savvy?
So that's the other side of like nomading, is not working from your home country, but working in the local country wherever you're going. And so that can sometimes be a more complicated process because it involves visa work, right? You have to get the proper visa to work wherever you're going. There's a lot of options for Canadians and particularly for English speakers. So from the UK or United States or Canada or Australia with English teaching. So my journey essentially went like this. I spent 2 years teaching English in South Korea. After that, I went to Australia for 2 years. And there they have a visa called a working holiday, which allows you to work, travel, study. Then after that, I went to Thailand for 6 months, and I worked there as an English teacher as well. So these countries, especially East and Southeast Asia, they're looking for English teachers. They want to teach their kids English. It's part of the curriculum. So Japan, Korea, China, Thailand, Vietnam, they're all very intent on hiring Westerners, especially like English native speakers, to come to their country and teach the kids English. And because of that, they offer pretty fair salaries, like competitive salaries, and you get the benefit of having essentially a very long extended vacation where you get to really immerse yourself with the culture.
And for how long do you have to commit yourself to this country?
Typically, the contracts are 1 year, and usually they'll have a signing bonus to continue on. Because people come for such a short amount of time, usually they're there for 1 year and then they leave, or even for less, for 6 months. They will try to highly incentivize you to stay longer. So, for example, in South Korea, they offered me a flight home that they would pay for, and then an extra month of salary in order to stay an extra year, which was, very enticing for me. And
did you take it?
I did, yeah. And but instead of actually taking the flight, they said I could like just get the money instead. And so I thought, well, I don't need to visit home, so I'll just take the money.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding part of this kind of job?
For me, it's the cultural exposure and immersion that I get from it. So I feel that I have learned so much about all the countries that I've lived in. I absolutely love learning about these places. I love experiencing the food and traditions and music and everything that I wouldn't be able to see in my home country.
Yeah, I can see how that is exciting. Before we get into specific agencies that can help somebody who wants to start a nomadic lifestyle, can you tell us which country left the biggest impact on you? And Is there any story, any experience that you can share with us?
I guess I would probably have to choose South Korea. It was the first one for me. It was the one where I had the most sort of diverse experience and I made the best friends. And so I think because it's the first one, it also holds a very special place in my heart. I was put into contact with a few dozen other teachers, and of those, maybe 9 or 10 of them became amazing friends of mine. And pretty much every weekend we'd go out and experience a new thing. So there were all of these amazing festivals in all these small towns. The one that stands out the most in my mind was the ice fishing festival. You had to take off all your clothes except for your shorts, get in the ice cold water, freezing cold water, and try to grab a fish with your hands. And my friend told me a strategy to help, because once you get in the water, your hands get so freezing cold that you can't bend them anymore. So he said, okay, tuck your shirt into your pants. And once you get the fish, shove it into your shirt, because otherwise it's going to slip out of your hands. So I had the fish in my shirt, like kind of like flopping around against me. And
oh my God.
I was freezing cold, like my feet and my hands. I felt like I was going to lose them. I found out later that like the Koreans had been filming it, and basically they were like, look at all these foreigners ice fishing here at the festival. So we had made like the local paper by just being foreigners at this festival and ice fishing. Yeah.
Can you give us some names of companies or agencies or website where people can get some information how to start their nomadic lifestyle?
The one that got me the job in South Korea is called Adventure Teaching. They are a recruiting agency and they place people in a bunch of different countries. There's another one called Expat Resources, so XPAT Resources. And they, as well, they do recruiting and they help people to find jobs in different countries. There's Dave's ESL Cafe. That's a job board for finding jobs, particularly English-speaking jobs in East Asian countries. And then there's one, I believe it's called Global Work and Travel. And they're a paid service. They'll
take part of your salary?
Take part of your salary or like an upfront fee to get you jobs, and also, but they're more focused on like adventures. So it could be volunteering, it could be teaching, it could be working holiday or something like that. And then they offer support while you're in those countries.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Okay, that's a wrap for today. If you have a comment or question or would like us to cover a certain job, please let us know. Visit our website at howmuchcanimake.info. We would love to hear from you. And on your way out, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone who is curious about their next job. See you next time.